My name is David Britt. I am the instructor for MSOM 601 and wanted to welcome you to not only the course, but also to the degree program. On behalf of the faculty here at Charleston Southern, I wanted to thank you for choosing us to walk alongside you the next few weeks and months as you get your master's degree. Look forward to chatting with you on the telephone sometime soon. But in the meantime, I wanted to provide this tutorial that will show you how to navigate the eCollege online system. And hopefully this will help break down some of the barriers for you as you get started in the degree program. One of the things that I've found in teaching this course is about 50% of our brand new master's students have never had an online class before. So if that is you, you're not alone. And so I try to provide these video tutorials to help assist you to also help take some of the sting off, if you will, of trying to learn a new online platform. And so this is the first place that you will land. This is called the landing page. This is the first place that you will land. It's whenever you log into the course. One of the things that is kind of confusing at the start, some of our courses in our concentration courses are in the Blackboard platform, but our foundation courses, this one being one of those, is in eCollege. And so make sure that you log into eCollege and not into Blackboard. As soon as you log into eCollege, you'll find your course list, and you'll be able to select this course, MSOM 601. And when you click on that, you'll land here on the landing page. Now, all faculty members are a little bit different. I tend to not like to send emails. And so you will get a few emails from me very early in the course, but after that, you'll get very few. What I tend to like to do is treat the course as a one-stop shop. And by that, I like to put all of the general information that I send out to students in one place. And this is the place where that happens. This is the announcement page. And so each week you'll begin to see some announcements that are listed on there. This happens to be a course that I'm building right now. So you'll see a few more announcements for some upcoming classes. But what you'll see very early on are probably 2 or 3 announcements that are listed in this section. What I would ask you to do is to make sure that you always look at the announcements every time you log into the course. Because when you log into the course, will have probably placed some new ones in there. So while there may be 2 or 3 in there at the start of the course, by the end of the course, there may be 25 or 30. And so I ask you to make sure that you look at those, that you read those. Each week, by the way, I will do a video that week that will introduce the upcoming week's lesson, and it will review the prior week's lesson. And I post those on Mondays. So again, the key message here is to make sure that every time you log into the course, you look at the announcement section to see if there's a new announcement that perhaps you have not seen yet. Now, this could get kind of confusing after a while, because if there are 25 announcements in there, you need to make sure that you watch the ones that you haven't read yet, or that you read the ones you haven't read yet. And so if you look over here on the left, you see these envelopes. There are a series of envelopes here. And so if the envelope appears open, like this one does, then you can assume you've already read that, or you've opened it at least. If the envelope is closed, it means you haven't opened it or read it yet. And so that's one little trick for you to take a look at those. So again, make sure every time you log into the course, the first place you look are the announcements to make sure that you have read all of those that I've posted in there. All right? The best place to start is at home, right? So if you look over here on the left under Course Home, I'm not going to highlight all of these, but if you go down, for example, to Syllabus, and you click on Syllabus, it'll open up the syllabus for the course. By the way, I have a printable copy of the syllabus, and I'll show you where that is in just a moment. But this is a typical syllabus that you walk through. It has course objectives. It has the different readings that you'll have. And there are a couple of things I really want to draw your attention to. And this is near the middle to the end of the syllabus. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy here. But it's the grading scale. And so one of the big differences between graduate level work and undergraduate work is the grading scale. In undergraduate work, perhaps, and this is pretty standard for most undergraduate programs, in order to receive an A, it was between 90 and 100. A B was between 80 and 90. Well, what you see here in graduate level work, and this just isn't Charleston Southern, it's most graduate programs that I've ever been affiliated with, um, have a much more aggressive grading scale. And by that, I mean it takes more to get an A. And so here it's 93 to 100. A B plus is 90 to 92. A B is 83 to 89. And a C is 75 to 82. You'll notice the graduate programs do not have a D. And so you have to maintain a C or above to go forward. And then the majority of you, I'm hoping, are shooting for these grades right in the middle. So I just want to draw your attention to those to make sure that you fully understand the grading scales as we go forward. The next thing I want to draw your attention to are two grading rubrics. Now, rubrics are designed for the benefit of the student, and what happens with those is it really highlights for you the things that the professor will be looking for as he or she begins to grade your papers. And so we have two grading rubrics here. You'll see the first rubric is a discussion board rubric. The second rubric is a rubric for case studies, essays, course projects, or any type of written exercise. So I want to make sure that you look at those, that you understand all of those pieces so that you, again, can manage your expectations going forward. So that is the syllabus. I'm not going to talk about the ebook here. In this video, there's another ebook that we have, another video that I've put together that will show you how to use the ebooks that are designed in this course. But what I do want to do is to let you know that in these foundation courses, they may be designed a little bit different from what you've experienced in a college class before. Typically, in most college classes that I've ever been associated with, and particularly in an undergraduate program, you have one large textbook that was probably written by an academic professor somewhere that is about 400 pages long and has about 20 some odd chapters in them, and that would cost the student a couple $100 if you bought them. Well, I don't believe that in the real world that I've experienced. And again, one of the things you need to know about me, my background is not in higher education. My background is in corporate business. So I really look at things from an application perspective from corporate business. I can tell you that in 25 plus years of corporate business, these words have never come across my lips. Gee, I wish I had my college textbook in front of me because it has the answers to all the problems I'm facing right now. This has never happened to me. Chances are it won't happen to you. So what we use in this course is, instead of using a textbook, I actually use 13 books. Now, before you have a heart attack, I don't want you to think that you're going to have to read all 13 books. But what I will do each week is I will direct you to specific readings inside of those books, and they're all included here in the ebook section. I will direct you to specific readings. Sometimes it's a page long, sometimes it's a chapter. But the whole theory here is that one source is not going to provide you with enough breadth and scope to solve a problem. In the real world, again, in business, what we do is we find multiple sources. We surround that problem, that issue, that opportunity with multiple sources and come up with what is the best solution. And so the books that we use in this course are those books that you can find at Amazon.com or you can find at Barnes & Noble that are written by today's thought leaders. And so as you get into this, you'll see that in this course, again, under the ebook, this is one big ebook, but it includes 13 books that are all compiled into one. Here under ebook, you'll see APA Guidebook. This is another electronic book. We use APA exclusively in this degree program, so you won't have to use APA in one course and MLA in another. Everything will be in APA. Now down here, another thing I want to draw your attention to is CSU links. Now this will give you contacts to all the different departments inside of Charleston Southern, but the one that's the most important that I want to draw your attention to is the library link here. And so this will be the one where you will go to the Charleston Southern Online Library to do searches in databases and journals. I have two separate videos that I've created that I'll show you where those are in a minute, that will show you how to use the CSU online library to find those peer-reviewed sources. Now, this is probably a good time to talk about this. One of the things in graduate level work, since you're not an undergraduate anymore, is undergraduate courses. You could probably do a simple Google search and those types of things. Well, that's just not good enough in graduate level work because, again, the standard for research is significantly higher. And so what we're really looking for you to do is to go to the CSU online library to find what are considered peer-reviewed articles. Now, by peer-reviewed articles, I simply mean those articles that have been reviewed by a jury of your peers that meet a much higher standard. Let's say, for example, that you and I wanted to put together a research project on project management. So we do all of our research work, we write our research paper, and we submit it to the Journal of Project Management for publication in an upcoming journal. Well, in order for that to get approved, it has to be reviewed by a jury of our peers. And so they will look at it. These are experts in the field, by the way. They'll look at it. They'll make sure that the research followed a certain format, that it has limited bias in it, that it has a certain standard, that it uses prior research. And so the idea here is that if it meets that high level of scrutiny and they say okay, then it has the ability to be published in that journal. Versus if you and I just wanted to publish our latest thoughts on David and John's or David and Jane's project management blog, we could go out and publish that tomorrow. Again, the standard isn't very high. And so the standard in graduate level research is significantly higher, which is why you need to get used to using the CSU online library to find your peer-reviewed articles. Now, the one thing that I will share with you is the CSU library can be your best friend here, because it's not a matter of not being able to find articles. You're going to find hundreds of articles. It's really going to be how you narrow those down. And so get used to using the CSU online library, and it will help you out substantially. Okay? So let's go now into lesson 1. Since many of you are brand new to graduate studies, and we don't have a foundations course, one that says Introduction to Graduate Studies, what I do in lesson 1 is treat lesson 1 simply as an introduction to graduate studies. And so we're not going to jump into problem solving and critical thinking the first week. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the requirements for discussion boards. We're going to get an example where you're going to go out to the CSU online library and find some peer-reviewed research. I'm going to talk to you about writing requirements for application exercises. And I'm also going to talk to you about formatting, about bias, and a few other things to get you ready to begin talking about critical thinking and problem solving here in lesson 2. But lesson 1 is just simply going to be an introduction to graduate studies. Now, because it's that way, I don't want you to treat this as a throwaway week if you have expertise in those areas, because there'll be some important things that you need to talk about and to get through, okay? So each week, each one of the lessons, by the way, I'm going to click on lesson 2 just so you can see it. You'll see that each week follows the same type of flow. And so we'll have some reading, we'll have a video, we'll have either 1 or 2 discussions, and then we'll have an application. And so you see in lesson 2 we have readings, video, we have 1 discussion next week, and then 2 applications. Applications, by the way, are written exercises and written papers, except in lesson 1 where you have a application quiz, okay? And so each week follows the same type of format. We're not going to go through all of these on this video, but just so you know, there are typically 3 things that you have to do or deliver every week. And so in this week you have 1 discussion, 2 discussions, and then an application quiz, all right? And so the best place to start is at the top, lesson 1, reading. And so here what I'm doing for you is I'm providing for you some information on discussion boards and writing overviews. And so I have a document link here. This is simply a Word document that I've created for you to be able to use and look at to give you some foundation in writing and in discussion boards. And so I'm asking you to download this and to read it. So you see this document that you'll be reading is a discussion board overview. It talks about the reasons that we do discussion boards. Our discussion boards, by the way, require you to provide one initial post, and it has to be done by Friday each week. And this is probably a good chance to tell you that our weeks begin on Mondays. And so on Monday morning is the start of each individual lesson, and each individual lesson will end Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And so the first week lesson will be starting on a Monday. It will end Sunday night at 11:59. The next week lesson will begin the next morning on Monday, end Sunday night 11:59, and so on and so on and so on. Okay? And so discussion boards are here. They are very important in graduate level work. And the reason being is because there are a lot of people in these classes who have a lot of experience. And so you're going to find people from multiple industries who have great insight and great ideas in going forward. And so discussion boards are conversational from that perspective. However, I do expect you to do research for those. I expect you, if you have opinions, to support them with your research. And so I always get questions from students about, well, how do I handle APA? Well, you're not to write your discussion board like a paper, but if you use an outside source, you are to cite those sources so that the other readers can see where you got your points and where your support is coming for your opinions. So each week, in your discussion boards, you have to do one initial post that you post by Friday of that week, and then you have a minimum of 2 response posts that you will make to other students, all right? And so that part is just giving you some overview on discussion boards. This will give you an idea of a sample discussion board post and a response. One of the things that I like to make sure you stress is to make sure that your discussion boards have depth and substance. Just don't simply say I agree, or don't say good post, or those types of things. These are really designed for you to extend the conversation that was started by the person who posted the original post. All right? And then the next section of this reading has to do with paper formatting. I talk about every single paper needs to have a cover page. It needs to have an introduction section, needs to have body headings, needs to have a conclusion. I talk about indents, fonts, and formatting. I talk about first person versus third person writing, direct quotes, fact versus opinion, and then APA helps and give you some ideas there. Okay, so that is just a Word document that I've created that will help you get started with some of my expectations for discussion boards and writings. Supplemental material here gives you some additional ideas on APA. APA doesn't have to be a challenge. I don't expect you to be an APA expert as you start the class, but I do expect you to get better as the class goes on. And I've given you several different resources and videos in the doc sharing. I'll show you where that is in a minute, and links to the Purdue OWL website, which is kind of the foremost place where you go to get some tips on APA. So that is the reading from this week. Let me bounce down here for a second so you can see what the readings look like outside of lesson 1. So I'm going to go down here to lesson 2 reading. And so what you'll see here is, and I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the ebook, I direct you each week to 4 or 5 different readings that you'll find inside the ebook. So for example, the first reading I have you do is pages 5 through 43 in this book, Now You're Thinking, which is one of the ebooks. And then I direct you to 5 different readings that week. And then each week I'll give you some supplemental readings that you don't have to read, but these are typically links to papers, to websites, to different things that I believe will help you answer the questions or help you surround the topic for that particular week. And so I try not to waste your time with these. I continue to do research on this topic, and sometimes rather than change up all the readings up here, I just add these as supplemental readings. So you'll see each week you're going to have 4 or 5 different readings that you have to go read, bits and pieces, certain pages, and then I give you some supplemental readings. Okay? Sorry for that diversion, but I just wanted to show you how that looks outside of lesson 1. Lesson 1 video. lesson one video for this first week, I have a series of videos here. I give you 10 different videos. This first one is the video that you're watching right now. The second video I referenced earlier, how to use the ebooks. This is very, very important. So make sure that you watch this because ebooks are the primary way by which we have text material that you'll need to view and read. I mentioned earlier too the 2 different videos that I had for the CSU Online Library. Those are here. I have a video here on effective discussion boards. And then the remainder of these videos talk about APA, give you some formatting tips, give you some writing tips, and give you some tips on bias, facts, and opinion. So the very first week, you'll have 10 videos here. These are lengthy. I mean, some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are 10 minutes. This first one obviously is a little bit longer. So I would encourage you to pop some popcorn, grab a soda, and sit back and watch these. These will be up for the entire class, so make sure that if you need to refer back to these, that you do that throughout the course, okay? All right, so those are videos each week. I'm going to bounce down here to lesson 2 again and show you what we do each week. So this week we have 1 video that you watch, and in most of the subsequent weeks here we have 1 video that you will watch that helps support the learning outcomes for that particular week. But again, in lesson 1, since this is foundational, you have a few more videos to watch just to get yourself ready for the course going forward. All right? Lesson 1, discussion 1. So what you have to do in this very first week is you have to introduce yourself. Don't treat this as a throwaway. I tell students a lot that I've actually had people, and I don't have time to tell a story now, but get a job based upon their introduction here. Another student saw their introduction, said, hey, it sounds like your expertise and your experience is something we can use at our company. Long story short, they arranged for an interview, and that person got hired based upon their introduction in one of my courses. So in lesson 1, you'll notice, make sure that you read everything in the instructions, because you have to give a introduction of yourself, and then you have to talk about and give your focus and feedback on some of the class readings, again, that Word document, the videos, those 10 videos, and then the doc sharing items for that week. And just briefly touch on these. Now, this may seem a little strange that I'm having you repeat this information, but statistics have shown and research has shown that if somebody reads something or watches something and then they go type it out and put it in, then they're going to retain it a whole lot better. And so what you have to do is you have to provide 1 initial response, again, by Friday of the first week. And then you need to respond to a minimum of 2 other students in the class. Now, how you do that, I'm going to scroll down here. You see all of these responses from this prior class, okay? So this is an existing class that I'm teaching right now. And so for you to respond to that, you see this respond button here? You click on that, and it will open up a dialog box. So you'll type your subject in here, and then you'll type your response in here. You see all the formatting tools that you have available. And then when you're perfectly fine and you're happy with what you've posted as your initial response, you come down here to the right and hit post response, and your initial discussion board response will be posted, okay? Now, when you want to respond to another student, you're going to be able to see, after you post your original response, you're going to be able to see everybody else's post here, okay? And so what that gives you the ability to do, let's say you want to respond and read Rob Kemp's introduction. So Rob will give his introduction here. If you want to respond to what Rob said, you see down at the bottom of his post is a respond button. You click on that. You'll still see his response, but now your dialog box is below it. So you'll type in your response to Rob, and it will be included in the thread that Rob started with his initial post, okay? And so again, on discussion boards, you have 1 initial post that's due by Friday, and then you have a minimum of 2 response posts to other students in the class, all right? So that's lesson 1, discussion 1. Lesson 1, discussion 2 asks you to go to the CSU online library. Again, you can find the link up here, CSU links. and it asks you to search for a peer-reviewed article on critical thinking. And then I'm asking you to save that article as a PDF and then do a summary on that article and post it down here. So you'll have your respond, you'll post your summary, you'll attach your PDF, and then you do that by Friday as well. And then you have a minimum of 2 response posts that you have to do with other students. Okay? And so remember the videos that we have up here? This will show you how to go in, how to do a search in the CSU Online Library, how to save them as PDFs. And so that will help you do your discussion to work this week. All right? Now, lesson 1 is a little bit different in that this is probably the only quiz you'll take in the entire degree program. And the reason that I have this is I have 20 questions that are here. And these 20 questions are true, false, multiple choice, multiple answer, and they go over the discussion board process, the writing and formatting process, the APA process that you will have read here with this document, that you will have watched in these videos. And so you will have 1 hour to take those 20 questions and those to answer those 20 questions. And those 20 questions, by the way, are what I found to be the top issues that students have coming into the degree program. And so as I say, on this one you'll have a quiz, but in prior lessons in this course and in probably all the other courses you won't have quizzes, you'll have papers that you will need to write. So for example, down here in lesson 2, application 1, what I'm asking you to do is to write a paper and to format the paper and to send me the paper, okay? And so that's what it looks like in future lessons, okay? And so as I mentioned, each week you'll have readings, you'll have videos to watch, you'll have discussions to be involved in, and then you'll have an application paper or 2 to write that week. But again, each week you're going to have 3 things, either 1 discussion board or 2 discussion boards, and 1 application paper or 2 application papers, depending on that particular week. Okay, change over here. I had to move into a new class because I'm going to go over the top navigation with you, and I was doing it in an existing class that I'm teaching, and if I hit gradebook, you would have seen the grades of the students that I'm currently teaching, and that's not cool. So I wanted to show you how the gradebook works in this course. And so if you go up to the top, you click on gradebook, and what you will find here down the entire left-hand side will be everything that you will receive a grade on in the course. And so you'll see lesson 1, discussion 2, the application quiz, and so on and so on. You'll see all of those listed. There'll be a column here for points. There'll be percentage of final grade earned, and then there'll be percentage of final grade possible for the course. So what I want to explain to you whenever you open these up is we grade everything on a 100-point scale. And what that means is regardless of whether it's a discussion board or an application exercise or a quiz, you're going to receive some number out of 100. And so it'll be 75 out of 100, 90 out of 100, 100 out of 100. But if you go over here to the right, whenever you log into your course, you're going to see that the percentages vary. So for example, when you get into your course, you'll see that application exercises are weighted at a higher percentage than discussion boards. Now, while I hate to say this, it plays out this way. Applications are more important from a grading perspective than discussions. And so just make sure that whenever you go into your course, again, this is not your course, but you'll see the percentages over here are different. They will obviously add up to 100% at the end, but they are different. So you will know, by the way, that I've graded something when under the points section, what you'll see when you first log in there are asterisks or double dashes. You'll know that you've received a grade from me whenever that asterisk or double dashes is replaced by a number. And so on this one was the the CAP certification exam that I have to take every year about online learning. And so you'll see that I earned 100 out of 100 points. Now, what you'll be able to do is you'll know that I've graded it when you'll see that those asterisks replaced by that number. is go ahead and click on that, and what will happen is the grade book will open up for that particular item. So you'll see your grade up here. And then under comments, this will be where you'll see all of the comments that I have for your discussion boards, for your application exercises, and so on. And so, for example, in discussion boards, you'll see some general comments that I make. I normally make 2 or 3 paragraphs worth of comments. And then you'll see a heading that'll say, my comments on your discussion board posts. And underneath that comment, you'll see a bunch of bullet points. Well, I will tell you the things that I liked about your post, the things I think you could have done better. I'll give you some tips on how to make them better in the future, and so on and so on. And so this is where you will see all of my comments on all of your work. I don't email them back to you. You'll find them here in the gradebook. Now, if this happened to be a paper that you submitted, you'll see a comment, very brief. It'll say, please take a look at my comments on the attached file. And then down here, you'll see a file that will be the Microsoft Word document that you submitted as your paper. And so whenever you submit that, I actually download them. I go through them with Microsoft Review, and I make all of my comments in the margins. And so here you'll see that file that you'll be able to click on. It'll open up, and you'll see all of my comments in the margins of your paper. Okay? So that is the grade book. Just make sure that you look at the grade book each week. I grade very quickly. Now, that doesn't mean that I grade foolishly. But in a 7-week course, I have to grade quickly to be fair to you, the student. And so typically, if there are 3 things due that week, everything that I grade will be done by Wednesday. So as I said earlier in this video, there are things that are discussion boards. Discussion boards, if there are, let's say there are 2 discussion boards and 1 application that week. If there are 2 discussion boards and 1 application, I'll grade 1 discussion board on Monday. I'll grade the other one on Tuesday, and I'll grade the application exercise on Wednesday. So that, again, everything's due Sunday night, so that by Wednesday of that week, after you submit it on Sunday night, you'll be able to see my comments. And hopefully, you'll read my comments and be able to adjust and adapt your paper that you have to submit for the next week that's due on Sunday night. This will give you a chance to review my comments to be able to make those necessary corrections. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense for you. That's the gradebook. Again, the gradebook is an important place to look every time. And you can count on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday being the heavy grading areas for me looking at your papers. To the right of gradebook is email. You'll be able to send me an email, send anyone in the class an email. You just select it, hit add here. If you have an attachment, you can hit an attachment and then send the message here. The great thing about this is if you send an email from within the eCollege system, you get a copy of that email in your CSU email account. So it's a great way to use that. We don't use live classes, just way too many students with too many different schedules to be able to do that. Doc sharing. Doc sharing, again, this is doc sharing for this particular class, but you'll notice I use doc sharing pretty extensively. There'll be things in here that'll be APA helps. There'll be a sample APA paper in here for you. There'll be a lot of different helps on APA, writing, formatting. I actually put a copy of my resume in here in case you're interested. There'll be some supplemental materials that'll help you. So I would encourage you to make sure that you use doc sharing. I like to think of it as David's library. It's a place where I go place a lot of tools that really don't fit over here in the lessons, but they fit and overall help you on different things. So make sure that you take a look at doc sharing. Dropbox, this is where you will go. There aren't any Dropbox things here in this particular course, but you'll see that anytime you have something that is a written paper, it'll be uploaded here in Dropbox. So you'll go in here, you'll select the particular lesson, you'll find the file on your computer, and you'll be able to upload it. And whenever you upload it here in Dropbox, it automatically goes over and populates the gradebook, and that's where I'll go grab it and grade it and then resave it so you'll be able to see it later. Okay? I don't use Journal, I don't use Weblography, but over here on tech support, you're able to see that there are 3 different types of tech support. There is 24/7 online chat. Um, Email, I don't recommend this because sometimes it takes them about 24 hours to get in touch with you, but they also have an 877 number, toll free, that is 24/7 as well. Okay? Well, I hope this video has been helpful and not too confusing for you. I would encourage you to watch this, to look at it, to get in and just play around in the system, and then I would love to chat with you on the phone to go over any questions that you may have about the course, to get to know you a little bit better. But I wanted to make sure that I provided this tutorial that's a little bit more in depth, so that if you wanted to get started early, you could. Or if for some reason you and I are unable to connect, this gives you an option to come in to be able to see how the eCollege platform works. So if I were you right now, what I would do is I would go make sure that you've read all the announcements. Remember, announcements are important. I update those all the time. I would encourage you in lesson 1 to go back and make sure that you watch all 10 of those videos that shows you how to use the ebook, shows you how to use the CSU online library, that shows you how to do the formatting. Also in lesson 1, remember that Word document that I talked about earlier. That'd be an interesting one and a good one for you to read, because those videos and also that Word document will be the basis by which the questions are asked in the lesson 1 quiz. All right? Again, welcome. Sorry for the length of this video, but hopefully you'll find that it was a helpful exercise for you. I look forward to the next few weeks together, and if you need me, make sure you contact me. Talk to you later.